Hi, Standers. This is Sheila Hollinger from Marriage Revealed Ministries, and I'm bringing another question and answer to you today. This one is in regards to what do I tell our kids? So, this question comes from a mentoring session that I had with a stander, and her concern was over her speaking to her children and praying with her children and how much she should be sharing with the kids about what was going on with their father. And part of this was she felt guilty. She felt she wasn't covering her husband. She felt like she was she just didn't have peace in what she was sharing. So we dove in, and I know this is a question that comes up, a lot in certain situations. And I want to go straight to the word, and I want to first read what the word says. So in Deuteronomy 6, and you will find that what I'm reading is found in more than just Deuteronomy 6. The Lord is saying, so verse 1, Deuteronomy 6:1. These are the commandments and statutes and ordinances that the Lord your God has instructed me to teach you to follow in the land that you are about to enter and possess, so that you and your children and grandchildren may fear the Lord your God all the days of your lives by keeping his statutes and commandments that I give you, so that your days may be prolonged. Hear, O Israel, and be careful to observe them, so that you may prosper and multiply greatly in a land flowing with milk and honey, just as the Lord, the God of your fathers, had promised you. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one, and you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength. Verse 6, these words I am commanding you today are to be upon your hearts, and you shall teach them diligently to your children, and speak of them when you sit at home, and when you walk along the road, and you lie down, and when you get up. Tie them as reminders on your hands, and bind them on your foreheads. Write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. So, the word is very clear in many ways that he is asking us, commanding us, that we need to teach our children who he is through his word. And that is who God is. The way you teach your children is by revealing to them what's right, what's wrong. What is sin? What pleases God? What doesn't please God? Now, how we teach, that is key. If you are presenting the truth to your children in a way that is shaming your spouse, in a way turning their hearts toward your spouse to look at them in contempt, disgust, I don't want to have anything to do with him. I don't want, if how you are presenting truth is turning them from being compassionate, from being merciful, from loving, and from grace, it's all how you are presenting the truth. If you're teaching your children in a way that's making them want nothing to do with the lost spouse because, they're choosing to not follow God. They're choosing to not, do what God asks us to do, and that's to turn away from sin. So if you're teaching your children that people like that who do these kind of things are not worth our love, not worth our prayers, not worth, it's all how you present the truth to them. Okay? So first of all, you've got to check your heart. You have to check your heart when you're speaking to your children. If you are not presenting the truth in any way that is showing them that you love your spouse. You want them to turn to do what's right in their heart. You want them to love God, to seek God, and that's what changes them. If you're teaching them in a way that is hardening their heart in love, it's all about love. Everything that you're doing should be drawing them to love your spouse, right? To love their father, to love their mother. We have to learn that sin is what we hate, right? But we don't hate the person. We might hate the choices they're making, and we understand that those choices really do hurt us, but we still have to find a way to work that out in our heart to separate the sin from the person. So you might not be able to speak to your children right now if you are full of hatred for your spouse and you're not able to separate that. That's going to come through. I don't care how much you're trying to hide that. It's going to come through, especially when you're, in your emotions, in your feelings. Okay, so should you be sharing that your spouse is in sin and they're not doing what God asks us to do? That depends on how you are, affecting them. Are you teaching them when you're in sin, you're not worthy anymore? You're not, you shouldn't, you're not worthy of our love. You're not worthy of our time. You're not worthy to be forgiven. You have no more worth and no more value as a human being because you're making wrong choices. And I'm above that and I won't have anything to do with you. That's where you have to check your heart. Sometimes we think we're doing the right thing by praying with our kids, but you listen to the prayers and you think back and you say, wow, those prayers were all about being self-righteous and I'm better than you and I'm looking down my nose at you. And now I'm teaching my children to look down their noses at you, that you're no longer worth our time, that you're in sin, that you're, God's totally displeased with you. And it's really about your heart attitude and what you're putting out there. And if your prayers are all in self-righteousness, pride, hurt, bitterness, please do not pray those prayers with your kids. If you're going to do anything, teach your kids how to be real and honest. Lord, I'm hurting. Teach me how to forgive. Teach me how to come out of being hurt and angry. And this really depends too on your children's age. So, and also it really depends too on if your children, some children have wrong motives and wrong intentions, and they will take your prayers and they'll twist them around and go back to the spouse and speak things that are not, truthful. I've seen that too. I had that happen to me, sharing something with a family member. This was many, many, many years ago. And my, sibling completely twisted everything I was saying and caused discord and strife in our family. Now, some children have this. They sow seeds. They have a character, a spirit that wants to bring disruption to the family. So you have to be super careful about that. If you know your child is the type that likes to cause problems, likes to go around and get everyone riled up, likes to cause drama, especially if you see something and they run and they want to hurt someone by what they saw. These are things that you are going to have to work out in prayer with God and pray for deliverance and healing for that child to be set free. So that means that if you know that child is taking things that you're saying and then twisting it around, you have to be very careful to cover your stand until that child has been set free from that spirit of whatever that is. That's not of God. God is, he's a God of truth. He brings truth to a situation, but he doesn't use that truth to harm people. Okay, that's what the enemy does. So you have to be very careful and very aware. And the same thing is not just for children. It's the same thing with family members, older family members. If you tell somebody something and they take what you say and they use it against you to bring discord to your spouse, they twist up those words, and we see that quite a bit. And those are people that have a very disruptive character. And I don't want to say that it's demonic, but it very well could be demonic influence. There's a spirit there that's, messing around, and they're listening to it, and they're influenced by it. They may even be agreement there. There might be a stronghold there, and they need healing and deliverance. They need to repent for doing that and working against the kingdom of God and working for the kingdom of darkness. And children, yes, they can have these spirits. And that's between you and God. And, this is your child. If this is happening, then you need to really go to the Lord and really seek understanding about this. Because like I was sharing, I saw this over a family member at a very young age, that, she just loved to bring, fights, discord with her words. She loved to go between family members and gossip and slander, but it was a sharing thing where guess what she said about you? And she would completely twist things up. And there was just something there at a very young age. And it's very sad, but yes, children can carry that. So should you be praying to your, with your child and sharing some of these things, if the child is going to run to the other parent and use what you're saying to make things worse? That's something that you have to, sit down and really analyze. If there's been discord and strife because of the children, that's something to consider. What's going on? And I know this is a kind of a tough thing to talk about because we absolutely don't want to consider that this could be going on within our own children, within our own siblings, within our own family. We even see parents doing this, where you are sharing things with your parents, and then they're running to the other person. They're running to your spouse, and you're like, wait a minute, that's not what I said. Or, you know what, that is what I said, but that was not meant for you to ever share with my husband or my wife. Why would you do that? Why would you share? Because I was opening up and I was sharing some things out of my heart, right? Sometimes when we go to that trusted person and we so believe that, they're not gonna repeat what we say. We just need to get it, off our chest. And then they take what we say and go straight to our spouse. That's not good. That's some things in them that they can no longer be trusted. And we do see that. We see that because their intention, their motives, their heart is not pure. And that's usually some type of a demonic stronghold and influence over them, that they are not doing the Lord's work. They're doing the enemy's work. So again, let's get back. I got off topic, but what do I tell our kids? Well, you teach them the truth, but you teach them in a way that helps them have compassion, mercy, forgiveness, grace, and love. You teach them to have hope that while there might be something going on in your family that's not of God, that this is life, that people do get lost, they do get broken, they do turn rebellious, and it happens all the time. But praise God, restoration, God brings families back together. So don't just leave it that, yes, your daddy's doing wrong. Your mom, is doing wrong. Show them who God is. Show them the character and nature of God. You want to always have your prayers full of thanksgiving and full of encouragement and full of hope. So it would be something like, I thank you, Father God, that you will restore the heart of Daddy back to you. You will teach him your ways. You will teach him how to love you and honor you. God, I thank you that mommy is in her own ways right now, that she's still trying to discover things. We have to be careful too about how we word things, because these guys, our children, they process things with the age and the maturity that they have. So you might have to keep your prayers really simple with them, right? And also because they might misunderstand the simplest of something that you said, and it might really stick with them. I don't personally speak so much emphasis on the devil or the enemy. I speak more, and this is what you should be doing too, more emphasis on God, his love, his mercy, his grace, his compassion. I know when I grew up, I didn't understand things. And so when I heard, oh, well, your dad's full of the devil. Well, that terrified me. I saw the devil as an evil being, an evil thing. And since I didn't have much understanding of God and his power and his love, so I was more afraid of the devil than I was more confident in God's ability and God's love. So you have to be careful not to put so much emphasis on the devil. If you're walking around constantly rebuking Satan, constantly just going into warfare in front of your kids, the devil, the devil, the devil, Satan, 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 if you're speaking death constantly, what are your children learning? Are they being taught anything about God and his love and his mercy and his compassion? We have to be so careful what we're teaching our children. And it really does start with what you know and how you're influencing them from your heart motives. So again, if you have bitterness in your heart, if you have resentment, if you are, being crushed by the weight of this, then wait before you start praying with your children, because it's pretty much going to come out in your prayers, in your attitude, and not even in your prayers, just in your daily, interaction with them. If you're letting them see how you feel about your spouse. Okay, and I'm not talking about hurt, and I'm not talking about not letting them see you cry. And even that can be to a point where we can influence our children to hate our spouses, to be so hurt by them because we're just, not covering what we're putting out there constantly. I know that I can become really emotional with a friend of mine when I see her hurting over and over and over. I can get caught up in my feelings, and I'm an adult. So yeah, if your child sees you constantly crying, and this goes for adult children, this is why you have people say to you, just give up, stop standing, because they can't bear to see you hurting anymore. So does that mean that you have to hide the hurt? It doesn't mean that you hide the hurt, but it does mean that you have to use wisdom and understand how it's affecting them. If they can't handle your hurt, they can't handle how you're expressing your pain and your grief, it might not be for you to be putting that out for them. Especially if it's hurting them to a point where they are coming back in anger at you, right? I've seen that a lot. They get angry and they say, I can't take it anymore. I can't be around you. You're not listening to me. I told you to give up on dad. You shouldn't be standing anymore. You shouldn't be putting yourself in this place. I have seen children literally be done with their parents who are standing. And that is painful. And while the stander thought they were doing the right thing by being honest, they literally, and I'm not blaming the stander, because that is on the child. That is on the child, that they were not able to handle it. But there had to be some type of a balance. If your child is not capable of handling this and they literally cut you out of their life, you need wisdom. You need direction from God. I don't ever want standards to hide truth, but we have to be wise with the truth. We have to also know that sometimes people are not ready. They're just not ready to bear the truth. And then also, the flip side of that is, do we protect them so much from the truth that they never grow? They never get challenged by it? So it really is a balance of finding how much someone can handle without coddling them, and then or overwhelming them, right? There's got to be a balance. Your child should never see you day in and day out, always sad, always crying, always mourning, always grieving. Because what is that putting out there to them? That shouldn't be. You should not be always grieving, always, hurt. There's got to be balance in your life. Because God promises us joy. He promises us peace. So he's telling us that if our minds and our hearts are focused on him, that we'll be securely rooted in peace, right? So if you've got to analyze yourself, are you so focused on your spouse and what they're doing to you? And then now you're taking that fruit of that, right? Because we know that when you're caught in the details, you're caught in the pain, then you're expressing it. That's the fruit of that. So if that's all your children ever see, then that's what's going on. They should not see you constantly hurting, constantly expressing anger, constantly defeated. Then what I'm saying, what that means is something's out of balance in you. There's a time and a place to be, hurt. And there's a time and a place to be in peace. And if you are completely out of balance and showing that to your children, then you're teaching them that standing is just a place of pain and there's no peace in it. There's nothing good that comes out of it. You're becoming resentful. You're becoming bitter. You've got to go back to, God and say, God, I'm kind of doing something wrong here. I know I don't have any peace. I don't have any joy. I'm grieving constantly. I'm mourning constantly. Yes, you're going to cry during your stand. Yes, you're going to hurt. But you're also going to laugh. You're also going to have peace. You're also going to have joy, contentment. You're going to have good days and you're going to have bad days. Yes, bad days happen more in the beginning. And then you start to grow and mature and you start to build your relationship with him. And you start to learn how to give God the things that you can't control. You start to give the Lord what you know is more than you can handle. You give those over to the Lord, and that's where you start to have more peace, more faith. You start to walk in more security in him. And sometimes that doesn't happen. And you stay stuck in obsessing over the spouse. If every time you're in contact with your children, you're doing nothing but talking about your spouse to them, or you are expressing that you are so hurt that they're in contact and you're putting that on them, these are things to really, look over. Is your spouse, your children want nothing to do with you because every time you discuss, why did you go over there? Why are you betraying me? Why are you supporting your dad's relationship with the other woman by going over there? You can't do that to your kids. You absolutely cannot put that on your children, that they want to love their parent. And that means that, they have to pick and choose between you and them. You want to encourage your child to have a relationship with their spouse and love them and not withhold love because they're in sin and they're lost. That's not what we do. And if you feel betrayed, and you probably will, you will feel betrayed if your child decides that they're going to go spend some time with your spouse and the other woman's around and involved. You're going to have to work that out with God, and you're going to have to, confess that you're trying to make the child feel guilty for that. If a child has a choice and they want to be with their father, their mother, and that means the other person is part of that, and they have to say, well, if I want to be with my dad or my mom and I can't, because I'm going to make my mom or dad, my standing mom or dad, feel really bad, like I'm betraying them. So now I can't have any relationship with my lost parent. That's not what God asks us to do. So that's something you really need to be careful of, making your child feel guilty. So I hope this message got you thinking. I hope this message helps you to really look in your heart and see if you are showing your child through prayer what is right and what is wrong, revealing God to them, but also revealing how God is love and God is forgiveness and God is hope and encouragement. If this video blessed you, I pray that you give it a like and you subscribe. God bless you guys.